It is Monday night in East Lansing, Michigan. My name is Jim Comparoni, publisher, SpartanMag.com. Sorry we're late. We had some technical problems. Had to reload a few things, but we're rolling now, and we're ready to talk Michigan State sports. We're going to pick up a little bit where we left off last night. Talked a lot of Michigan State, a little bit of basketball recruiting, a little bit of sports. Michigan State football camp went on yesterday, but big news today, Michigan State with a commitment from Antonio Gates Jr., Dearborn Fordson High School wide receiver, 6'1", ranked the number 13 player in the state of Michigan by Rivals.com. Have two articles over at SpartanMag.com today. He committed around noon, had those stories up at about shortly after 12:30, I think. Another one at about 1 o'clock. It was exciting. We'll talk a little bit about that. Also have some unfinished business in terms of some of the questions that were asked from Michigan State fans last night. Going to get to some of those. Also going to open up the phone lines. That means open mic night tonight. We're going to take some phone calls. Going to have a good time with that. In the meantime, I'm going to go over to SpartanMag.com Underground Bunker and let people know that we are live because there were some problems, and I want to make sure all those people know about this nonsense going on here at SpartanMag.com. Anyway, if you're not familiar with what we're doing and who I am and what all this nonsense is, I am publisher of
Also going to open up the phone lines.
That means open mic night tonight. We're going to take some, which has been in existence since the beginning of the internet, roughly. And it is a premium website, paying subscribers. We certainly appreciate those subscribers. And over at the Underground Bunker message board, which is the number one forum for Michigan State fans anywhere on the internet, I invited Michigan State fans, subscribers, to go ahead and post questions here. We will be tackling those posts here shortly. And also you can ask questions in the chat area. And we will be taking some phone calls and hopefully having a good time with that. Caught me a little bit by surprise here because had a lot of plates spinning in the air. Now we're rolling. All right. So anyway, let's go to. I'll put the phone the phone number up here. Want to make sure that we've got. All right, there we go. All right, people. Thanks for joining in. And we'll go ahead and find, I've got to find, see, I turned everything off to try to load it back up properly, and now I'm having trouble finding it because, quite frankly, the application worked, and I wasn't expecting it to, and boom, live on the air, ready to roll, ready to do it. We'll do it the right way. Come on in, gather around, grab your refreshments. It's a Monday night. Don't be afraid to drink too much. Don't be afraid. It's a big day for Michigan State fans. Antonio Gates. We talked a little bit about that last night. There was a possibility. We talked about it on the Underground Bunker message board, that it was a possibility. And today, it did happen. 16th commitment for Michigan State. We will talk more about that in a moment. But first, let's go to yesterday's mailbag a little bit for a question. Question we didn't get to yesterday. Somebody for parts unknown. I don't have their name here. They mentioned.
Call from
Nick.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
We're not going to let Nick on. So anyway, Beasley and talking about Drew Beasley and Indianapolis at the Big Ten Media Days, he and Xavier Henderson, question here. They both called out Ronald Williams and Kimbrough, the two corner transfers, one from Alabama, one from Florida. Both of those players called out those guys as potential impact transfers. The question here, would I expect both of them to start? Kimbrough, Williams. I don't know much about these guys. We've seen a little bit of what they did at the previous stops. Ronald Williams was, 6'1.5", junior college All-American, went to Alabama. Alabama doesn't recruit just anybody. He went to Alabama as a 20-year-old. Injured his arm, didn't get on the field last year, was close to it, transferred out. Don't know much about him other than that. Nice frame. I mean, you look at his film in junior college, I mean, he is what you're looking for. So I'm assuming he can come into Michigan State, get acclimated, learn the playbook, and become a Spartan dog. I was talking to Xavier Henderson about him a little bit, and he said that Ronald was a little bit kept to himself a little bit when he first got to Michigan State. After a few workouts, came out a little bit, and just before they went to Indianapolis, Ronald Williams had a lot of players over at his place for a barbecue. Hot dogs, hamburgers, that type of stuff over at Ronald's place. He's getting comfortable. Henderson's excited about him. Other teammates are excited about him. Kimbrough played a little bit for Florida, was a second-string guy. All right. So would I expect them to start? All right, Michigan State had Shakur Brown starting last year, went pro a year early, had another year, decided not to come back, did not get drafted. And, of course, Kalen Gervin started a little bit last year. He started a little bit on and off the last 2 years. It's been up and down, mixed results. He's a redshirt junior now. You need more out of Kalen Gervin. Would I expect either of those two to beat out Kalen Gervin? I think there's a really good chance of that, unless Kalen Gervin improves. If Kalen Gervin does not improve and those guys don't beat him out, then you've got a difficult situation there at quarterback. Let's try Nick again.
Nick Harrington.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
All right, let's go to Nick Harrington in Battle Creek, Michigan. Nick, how you doing, man?
Hey, Comp, how's it going? Pretty
Great.
Good. Actually, I know I got my phone says Battle Creek, but I live in Florida now, so I'm living in Lakeland, Florida.
Lakeland, Florida, home of the Detroit Tigers spring training facilities.
Yes.
It says Battle Creek on
Yes,
the
sir.
calling here, so you must have lived in Battle Creek at some point. That's where you set up your service. That's what I got here.
Absolutely.
But it's great to have you from Lakeland, Florida. Welcome to SpartanMag.com on a Monday night, late July, heading toward the 2021 college football season. What's going on in Lakeland, Nick?
Well, I got my beverage here. I got some diet root beer. It's a weeknight, so I can't indulge. But no, I was curious, in seeing some of the stuff with the, I guess you could call it recruiting upswing a little bit with, Hauser, now Gates. But specifically with quarterback, as you look toward the future, like more specifically next season, Thorne, Hauser, Hampton Fay, and then Noah Kim, who I almost feel like a transfer is inevitable. And then, we already talking about 2023 possibilities. So it's like, not everybody's going to pan out. And I'm just curious to who you think might get left in the dust.
Great question. And that's the way it is with college football. With quarterbacks, I've always said that you don't recruit a quarterback, you recruit a competition, and Michigan State has recruited a competition. Anthony Russo,
Right.
of course, with Peyton Thorne this year going at it. Did you see the green-white game?
I did actually.
And it's the first time that we've seen Noah Kim in a Michigan State uniform, and he looked pretty
Yeah.
sharp. He looked pretty sharp, didn't he? So,
Yeah, and he had that long ball too. He seemed confident with it.
a quick release, accurate. He and Hauser have something in common, that they had injuries when they were juniors, which kind of stunted their recruitment a little bit. Same thing with Kirk Cousins, going back when he was in high school, stunted his recruitment a little bit. And Kim played for, a state championship caliber team in Virginia, and kind of a slight build type of guy, strong enough arm, not really a power arm, but you didn't hear much about him, but he hung around in spring, and he's still on the roster now. If the coaches did not believe in you as a player, you would have already been shown the door, because they showed the door to a lot of players, including some who have been starters, felt they needed some more toughness at some of those positions. They kept Noah Kim around. And Mel Tucker was talking about quarterbacks this week in Indianapolis, and he said all the quarterbacks they have, they're players that they think have the capability to play winning football for Michigan State at some point. Otherwise, they wouldn't still be here. Not surprised that Theo Day moved on, but Noah Kim is more competitive than I expected. But you're right. It's very unlikely that all of those players will be here 24 months from now. Hauser will be reporting next year. Noah Kim's going to be around.
You could even argue the same thing with the running back room.
Yes.
It's with positivity comes the negative side of, you're not going to keep all six or however many backs they got in that room right now. But
yeah, and Donovan England looked good in the spring game. And when you see
yeah,
when you see third and fourth stringers look like they could play or could have played for recent Michigan State teams, well, that's when Nick Saban used to talk about the bottom 40. How strong is your bottom 40 of your roster? When you start seeing third and fourth string running backs looking pretty good, that's when the program has some hope. That's when there's some positives there. Now, you've got to have that kind of strength, of course, in the trenches and everywhere in college football, the ultimate team sport.
yeah, absolutely.
But that's a good crop of running backs. They moved Brandon Wright to the defensive end, of course. And at quarterback, it's a good crop. They're going to get a good quarterback out of there one way or another this year and in the future. Your question was, do I see a portal, for the future of some of those guys? Yeah, because, quarterbacks, it's hard to play more than one. And quarterbacks, hey, they like a lot of athletes, they got big egos. A lot of, high-ranking scholarship athletes, they have egos. They think they can be the man. They'll want to move somewhere else where they can have a shot, like Rocky Lombardi did, moving on to Northern Illinois.
Yeah.
So Hauser's going to come in. I think he's got great talent. I think Peyton Thorne, I think the previous staff did a really good job of finding him as a commitment to Western Michigan University, bringing him in, and, competing favorably. I thought that he was better than Rocky Lombardi last year. And looking back at it, they liked Lombardi as a leader and as a competitor, but Thorne by the end of the year was clearly the better quarterback. Could they have made that decision earlier? I don't know.
The beginning of that Penn State game, I actually rewatched today, just the first and second quarter. And yeah, like he showed flashes of what could be. I feel like
he does some good things, does some really good things, and Mel Tucker was talking about Russo and compared to Thorne, and he said Thorne had been here longer and had a better grasp of the playbook, and that was his edge in the spring. And Thorne started in the spring scrimmage. Russo, a competitor, said that he was going to dedicate himself to the film room, the playbook, realizing that although he transferred here from Temple, fully expecting to be the man, he saw this spring that it's a live competition. So he needs to hit the film room, the playbook, and come back as the best version of himself that he's ever been. I know that he's fired up about it. He's fired up about being a Michigan State guy. He wants that job. He's a veteran. And, earlier this week at Big Ten Media Days, Mel Tucker said, hey, we're going to need both of them. So they're going to land on a starter by the end of camp, Mel Tucker says. But you know what? You lose a couple games, things can get reshuffled a little bit. But we all know in college football, you can have dings and tweaks and those type of things also. They're expecting both of those guys. Faye is coming around, strong arm guy, strong frame guy, good athleticism. Not as refined as the others on his way in. More of a little bit more of a diamond in the rough. I compare Hampton Faye maybe a little bit more to like Connor Cook. Connor Cook was not a refined quarterback on his way in. And then you've got Noah Kim in there. I mean, good quarterbacks. And then yesterday at Michigan State's camp, Dante Moore is going to be a junior this year, Detroit King. In terms of raw talent, he has more than all those guys. Now, Hauser's a different type of guy. Maybe Hauser's got some crazy talent too. So it's apples and oranges, Hauser and Dante Moore. But Michigan State's going to have a shot at Dante Moore. You can see that right now. That guy's a national top 50. And if they were to get him, I mean, they haven't had a quarterback like that. I mean, Jeff Smoker was a national top 100, but they've not had a quarterback like Dante Moore. I can't remember when or if since the advent of internet or since recruiting rankings came about, they've not had someone like that.
Anybody that jumps off the chart for sure.
They'll have a shot. They're going to have a shot with him also. They'll have a shot. Anything else,
right.
Nick? Hey,
well,
Nick,
hey,
I appreciate you calling in, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan. Always appreciate your stuff, and have a good one.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. There he goes. Nick in Lakeland, Florida. Appreciate his call. Let me go ahead and get on Twitter here and let people know that we're doing this again tonight. Appreciate the response from last night. I think close to 1,500 viewers of last night's SpartanMag Live at this point. It'll creep up over 3,000 in the days ahead. We appreciate that support. I'm going to type it right now. Via SpartanMag Live. Catch us here. I'll say join us here. No commercials, so I'm the producer. We're doing all this at the same time. a little bit primitive, but we know that you guys can appreciate that. We hope that you can anyway. And gotta find the link here. Go over to SpartanMag.com right now if you're not a subscriber. Check it out. You can become a subscriber. A month free. Go there right now, become a subscriber, and you can read what we had about Antonio Gates and that commitment from earlier today. Also, our coverage from Big Ten Media Days, which continues. We've got quotes left over and angles that we're still going to be tackling in the days ahead. Planned to do more of that today, but news broke regarding Antonio Gates. We got after that one. Couldn't write the other articles, but had a good time putting that together. Spoke with Antonio Gates today shortly after his commitment. An effervescent personality, and it was he's a good interview. All right, we'll talk more about Antonio Gates in a moment. Let's go back to the mailbag. Pete in Atlanta, Georgia, asked last week or a couple days ago, what's the chance Malik Carr could be an X factor at tight end this year? He says he would appear to have the physical talent to be a mismatch in the passing game, but I wonder how he will embrace the blocking role. Yeah, you know, he's been dinged up, lower body injury. Saw him at Michigan State camp a couple months ago, about 5 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and he was in a boot and was rolling himself around, in good spirits. Said it's going to be off in time for preseason camp. Plans to be full blast at that point. I could just tell that he's added some strength to his lower body. He no longer has the rear end of a wide receiver. He now has the rear end of like a Chris Baker type. So I think that's out of design. They're putting him in the weight room to be a tight end now. I'm not sure he's completely thrilled about the idea of doing that, but he's going to buy in and go after it, whatever it takes to help the team and help his career, and eventually, like a lot of these guys, to get to the league. Hybrid tight end type of guy. Now, can he block? I don't know. Watching his tenacity as a wide receiver, watching his tenacity on the basketball court, I suspect he has the mentality to buy into blocking, but you never know until you see it for sure. You know, a lot of times you'll see a big athlete, he outgrows the wide receiver position, and you're like, oh, that guy could become a tight end or a fullback. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Fred Smith tried it, never, they moved him to fullback, was never all that interested in blocking anybody. Jay Green did it. My buddy Jay Green, Spartan Dog for Life, that's his line of clothing. He was a terrific wide receiver coming out of Flint Central back in the 1990s. Had a tough injury, I think a knee injury. And back then, knee repair was not what it is today. Put on some strength, played some tight end, contributed like in 93, 94. Malik Carr, not that type of injury, but 6'5", strong guy. Can he do it? That's going to be interesting. I think he is an X factor. Michigan State needs help at tight end. Another X factor there at tight end is Adam Burghorst. Played a little bit last year, played a little bit more, I think, the year before when he was rushed into duty as a defensive end and a tight end as a true freshman out of Zeeland West, I think it is, west side of the state. Two-sport athlete, baseball. Played for Michigan State baseball this year and a little bit the year before in the COVID-shortened season. And his weight is about the same. He might have even lost 5 pounds. Not a guy, I'm not sure about his hands. I've not seen that he does not have hands, but I've not seen it demonstrated that he does. He was not involved in pregame last year. A lot of times I watched pregame last year before kickoff, the 40 minutes of pregame before games. I watched that more closely last year than I ever have for a number of reasons. First of all, we didn't get a chance to watch any preseason practice. Secondly, they were not releasing depth charts. So if you watch pregame, you can get an idea what the depth chart is. Thirdly, I don't even know if they were putting out dress lists. I don't think they released dress lists. Very, very quiet that way. Saban-esque in some ways. So if you want to know who's on the dress list, and that also gives you an idea of the hierarchy of the depth chart and the roster, get there early, see who's on the field. Because there were plenty of scholarship players that were not on the dress list. Never saw Burghorst on the dress list last year. Would have liked to have seen him out there. I don't know, maybe he was dinged up. I'm not sure. Would have liked to have seen him out there to look at his hands, because I've never really looked at his hands. That's an X factor. He's got the frame, the biggest framed tight end that they have, I would say, is Burghorst. He'd gotten on the field before in the previous staff. We've forgotten about him as observers a little bit because last year Tyler Hunt became a starter type of tight end, functional, former punter, which is unheard of. Trenton Gillison shows flashes here and there, played 2 or 3 games, banged up, missed half the season. Is he a true senior now? Former 4-star recruit out of Pickerington Central in Ohio. So Gillison's around, Hunt's around. Don't know about Berghorst. You know, in the spring game, Parks Kissinger did some things as a blocker. He played a little bit. He did not see the field, did not dress, was not in pads during the fall. The year before, played a little bit in the Pinstripe Bowl out of necessity because there were so many injuries at the tight end position. So, handful of candidates there. Nobody's really proven as a standout player, but you just need functionality. You need some people that can catch the ball when it's thrown to them and can block and can be relied upon to make some blocks. That might be Tyler Hunt right now. Not the tallest guy, not ideal. Gillison, you'd like to see him come around, but maybe Berghorst gets in there. But to your point, Malik Carr, he transferred as a wide receiver from Purdue. Definitely the most athletic of that bunch. X factor, you're saying? I would agree. Now, let's talk about that man, Antonio Gates Jr. Dearborn Fordson. That's a picture I took of him at the Sound Mind, Sound Body Camp at Ferris State University in June. Actually, that might have been late May. Maybe June 1st or 2nd or so. Because then he took his official visit to Michigan State a couple of days later. And then he did 0 interviews for 7 weeks. He continued to be recruited by Kentucky and a few other schools. I mean, there were other schools that offered him, Tennessee, Penn State, Florida at one point. And took his official visit to Michigan State. And earlier today, he talked about his official visit to Michigan State with me in articles over at SpartanMag.com. He said he loved it. Loved everything about it. He was always intrigued about Michigan State and visited, loved it. Kalen Gervin used to tell him good things about Michigan State, piqued his interest. Of course, his father was a student at Michigan State for a short time. His father, Hall of Fame tight end. San Diego Chargers, Detroit Central High School. Helped Detroit Central to state championship in basketball. Came to Michigan State as a basketball and football recruit. I remember talking to Tom Crean about him at the time. Tom Crean was an assistant coach at Michigan State at the time. He compared him at that time to New York Knicks power forward Anthony Glover. Was it Anthony Glover? No, not Anthony Glover. Anthony Glover's an actor, isn't he? I said it last night. Can't remember who it was. Anthony Mason. Comparoni. If they would just tell me what time rehearsal is, I'd get some of this stuff straightened out. Anthony Mason, who's a big playmaking power forward back in that era. I remember talking to Norm Oden about Anthony Gates Sr. back then. Norm Oden loved him. 6'4", point forward. Thought he could play college basketball at a high level. I was like, really? I talked about this last night. Saban was irritated that Gates Sr. was so serious about basketball. I mentioned this last night. I remember being in Saban's office circa 1997, something like that. Whatever year it was that Gates graduated from Detroit Central. It was the same year as Dane Fife. He was a senior when Fife was a senior. And Fife was a senior at Indiana in 01, right? No, 02. 02. So it would have been 97. Just use my abacus again. Abacus. So anyway, Saban grouchy about everything at all times. And Gates Sr. had just played in Magic's Round Ball Classic, which was a national high school all-star game at the time that was kind of running competition with the McDonald's All-American game. Antonio Gates Sr. was a part of that game, played in it, and Saban was grouchy. And he was like, what was going on with that game? Is he actually that good of a basketball player? Knowing what we know now, he was not fond about Gates Sr. delving into basketball. Although they recruited him as a two-sport athlete, once he got to school, it was going to be all football, according to Nick Saban. Gates left. there's an article in the Free Press about it by Mick McCabe when he transferred initially to Eastern Michigan. Nothing publicly was ever aired. There was not many grievances or anything. He just wanted to play some basketball. Then junior college, then Kent State. Played for Kent State with Stan Heath as the head coach there. Stan Heath, I think, might have had a hand in recruiting him at Michigan State just before, early in Heath's time at Michigan State. Anyway, ended up at Kent State, won the MAC, had a great team with Trevor Huffman, a point guard out of Petoskey. Those of you that have been watching high school basketball in the state of Michigan for a long time remember Trevor Huffman, that great Petoskey team that came down to Breslin, went to the Final Four, ran into Shane Battier and Detroit Country Day. Some good basketball around the state of Michigan at that time. As far as Gates goes, senior, I remember going to Class A quarterfinals at Ferndale High School to watch Dane Fife play and Gates. At that time, I'm not sure if Fife was committed or not. He might have still been uncommitted. No, I think he might have been committed too. He was committed to Indiana at that point. Michigan State had recruited Fife. Yeah. I went to watch Gates, and Gates' team won that game, eliminated Clarkston, Dane Fife's last high school basketball game. And when Fife was an assistant coach at Michigan State, I asked him about it once, one or two times. I think just once. I was like, yeah, I was there your last game at Ferndale High School against Detroit Central. And Fife was like, man, those officials screwed us. And he had more thoughts about it. I'm not going to repeat those here. But all these years later, Dane Fife was angry about the officiating in the quarterfinals the night that his high school career ended. And to that point, might have been the best Clarkston team that we had seen with the best chance to win a state title up to that point. And eliminated on that night, his high school career was over at the hands of Antonio Gates Sr. Antonio Gates Sr. at that time playing at Breslin. I remember my photographer taking pictures of him for Spartan Magazine. Gates with a big smile on his face, braces on his teeth, happy, Michigan State shirt on. So I go see that man that you're looking at right there, Antonio Gates Jr. Saw him at Ferris State. First time I ever talked to him, interviewed him. He talked, big smile, braces. And it looked like, I'm old enough now that I'm covering recruits who are the offspring of other people I've covered as recruits in the past. The newest one is Jason Richardson's son, Jace Richardson. Just got an offer from Michigan State. I think it's a 2024 in basketball out in Las Vegas. Anyway, Antonio Gates Jr., a lot of talent. He has to refine that talent. He needs to fall in love with the weight room and conditioning. And I think he's competitive. He is competitive. That's good. And he's got all that. He's got some great natural ability. It's good. Bright young man. That's good. Now, and so people are asking me, is he a 4-star? Because other sites have him as a 4-star. Rovs.com has him as a 3-star. I don't have anything to do with the rankings or the star rankings. So don't blame me that he's a 3-star. But I think I think a high 3-star is good for him. I think that's where he should be. I think he's got 4-star potential, but he's got to really focus at it and try to refine that inner diamond that is within him. And looking at his film today a little bit more, some really good things about him in terms of some of that ability. Let me see if I can find that. Where are we? Here we go. All right. When I look at him again, I like his release moves. Big guy at 6'1", long legs, long strider. Press coverage here. This is against Cass Tech. But right off the line, just a little quick little jab right there. Getting that foot in the ground, the right foot in the ground. And goes and gets on top. But watch the boom, boom. That release move for a big dude does not grow on trees. Boom, boom, release, get on top. The burst there, that corner did a pretty good job of staying with him. His burst can improve a little bit, but his 5-yard burst is pretty good. His top-end speed, he's the first to admit, needs to get a little bit better. But the release move at the line of scrimmage and some of his routes, his agility at the top of his routes, the route running is quite good with this guy. Now, good pass here, drops it right in the bucket. strength to wrestle it away, takes it in. They lost to Cass Tech. Fortson did 49-7. That was their only touchdown that day. This was a game winner against Livonia Churchill. Somehow they leave him uncovered, and now he makes a play, breaks a tackle, takes on some people. There's a little bit of burst right there. Right here, right, and right there. From zero, see, he breaks the tackle right here, and then this pursuit guy's not the fastest guy in the world. Looks like he's about 7 yards away from him, but he's coming in with a full head of steam. And from right here to beat number 17, who's at the 30-yard line, burst, boom, 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 boom. Enough. With 6'1" and route running ability, that's fast enough. And if he gets faster, that's where the 4-star comes in. All right, now he got off coverage. He's at the top of the screen there, off coverage. A little nod. One of his favorite routes is this little nod to the post corner. His feet are really good. Nod and go. That little nod turns that corner inside out. Watch the corner get his hips turned, and now he's beaten. But this is his favorite route. He'll have to have more at college, of course, more than just one favorite route. But that nod to the post, boom, just a little shimmy to the post corner. Go to the corner, and the acceleration coming out of it. Boom, acceleration, burst, gone. So nod, burst, open, separation. And, some strength. That's the competitiveness I'm talking about. Right there, that competitiveness. All right, now we've got, let me take this thing off of here so we can see it a little bit better. This dude, now I think he runs the same nod. Now that one, he a little nod to the corner and takes it to the post. It's like a slight double move, just a little nod. And the thing is the way that he can accelerate through that nod accelerate. So like his feet are nod accelerate. That's high level stuff. This isn't the best defensive back in the world, and I don't know why they've got all their safeties in when you've got single coverage on this guy. So there's no safety help, but nod accelerate. That's a nice route to a skinny post. Boom, boom. Again, I like his change of direction for a big wide receiver for a long striver at the top of his route. That one, again, kind of questionable coverage. Didn't have to give him much of a nod. Blows by him, but showing some catch radius here. Nice and comfortable, getting his feet down. This is against press, I think this is against Cass Tech. Interesting concept where he puts his hands on the corner. I guess the corner puts 2 hands on him and he defeats the hands. Corner gets his hands on him. Release move on top. But that initial little burst, he's got a little burst. 1, 2, 3. His first 3 steps there, it doesn't take him much to get going. He's got nice initial burst. It doesn't take all day to get going. Boom, boom, boom. As good as, like, say, Cody White was, and Cody White's doing good things with the Steelers now, second string. But Cody White, his initial couple steps sometimes didn't cover ground as quickly as you'd like him to. All right, so 1, 2 steps, and then catch radius, jump, apex in his jump, hands to finish, and some strength, that tenacity again. Now here he is, bottom of the screen. You're going to see the little slight double move again. Off coverage, nod. He kind of sells that corner, takes it to the post. And while he does it, his feet are as such that he picks up speed as he goes. So that's what I mean. His double is, and then the catch radius at the end with good hand selection makes that part look easy. So I can see why he got some of those big time offers. And, a lot of people have seen the video of him against his friend Will Johnson, a 5-star corner who's committed to Michigan on an out and up. But it's the same elements. I mean, those guys work out together, so Will Johnson might have been thinking he's just doing his out route because that's one of his favorite moves or something. I don't know. But when I talked to Antonio Gates Jr. about it today, he wanted to shout out to Will Johnson and what a good player he is, and what he, working out with him makes him a better player. I think that Antonio Gates Jr. almost feels bad that video has gotten so much run. I don't know. I didn't ask him specifically about that, but I thought that was a good, humble outreach on his behalf for his friend. Will probably doesn't need it. Will's national top 50, committed to Michigan, 5-star, 6'3" corner. But even on that play, which a lot of you have seen, I don't have the video of that here. If you're a subscriber to SpartanMag.com, you can see it on Instagram. A lot of people have seen it. It's an out and up, and he burns Will Johnson on that one. Johnson bites on the out. It doesn't get set for the up, so he it's not, that doesn't mean he's like he would own him all day like some people want to make it out to be. I mean, if you watch enough T-shirt camps, you'll see double moves where guys get undressed a little bit because the quarterbacks have all day to throw. There's no pass rush, and that's just the way it is. Anyway, the point is, in getting separation on that one, dropping his hips, breaking it out, breaking it up. He does it for a long stride guy, does it with very economical footwork. Boom, boom, boom. He doesn't take a bunch of steps. He doesn't round it. He doesn't come apart. He doesn't he doesn't have a big, his body doesn't come apart. He drops his hips at 6'1", boom, boom. That's what makes that route go. And that's what happened on this route here on some of these other ones. Where is it? All right, we just saw this a minute ago. What was that? Did we see that one before? All right, there's the against the press. All right, off coverage. Right there, planting that left foot, selling the corner. Defensive back reacts to it, and he's gone. Accelerates through it. Might have even stumbled through that one a little bit. Now gets press. Press, stutter, 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 and then accelerate. Stutter, 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 then the first step. 1, 2. His first step speed, 1, 2, it's good. His first step speed is good. And now let's take off on this one. He's covering ground against off coverage, no safety. He does that double move. Didn't need to there. Kind of did it against air, but it works. What do we have here? Some run after the catch, some physical strength. Getting on top here for the fade. Now some defense. Let me fast forward here a little bit. This is some defensive. Some schools looked at him a little bit as a defensive back. State liked him as that was Max Prep's film. All right, now here. The release move here. Again, guy's up and press, doesn't get his hands on him, but down to the bottom of your screen. Release move, that crossover step, boom, and gone. I guess it's not a crossover step, but the release. He's slippery on his release moves and then at the top of his routes. Now here's at the top of his route. The ball does not come his way, but this is that out and up. This is not the one against Will Johnson, of course, but it's the same route. But watch his feet. That break was good, and then that one is rounded a little bit. That's fine. But the initial one on the out route, really sells that out because the out cut is so good. The out cut is so good that DB for Cass Tech really has to react to it because he's beaten by that out cut. Then it's an up. Ball doesn't come out, but that's an excellent route. Now an inside release. Another double move. Watch here. He's in the slot being pressed. That's just nice quickness off the line right there for the initial release. And now he's going to have a double move at the top of his route. Ends up being like a slant and go concept here a little bit. So the slant and then accelerates to the go, and he's gone. Ball doesn't come out, but that's a big time route. That's separation. And the thing is, I think he's got good feet there and a lot to work with. And physically, he's just tip of the iceberg. If you watch him, for instance, in some of those T-shirt camps or that play against Will Johnson, you look at his body, it's not ripped up yet. There's some great DNA in there. But, when he gets really introduced to a weight room, college nutrition, college focus, then his physical ability, I think, is really, it could really explode at that point. So I'd say high 3-star with a lot of potential. So that's a good one for Michigan State. He's got to come in and embrace it and really get to work at it. He's got the ability to do that for sure. Let me see if I can find that. We'll go ahead and put the number back up. Maybe take a couple phone calls. We are not going to go 3 hours tonight. Maybe shut it down in an hour or so. Give us a thumbs up here. Subscribe to this website. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us thumbs up. Give us a thumbs up. Also, go over to SpartanMag.com, become a subscriber over there. We think that you'll like it. I'm going to go through these questions over here in the chat area and probably wrap this one up. The first people in here, Angelo Gross Enthusiast, first person here. Appreciate that. Brad Fashenko checking in from Austin, Texas. And Eric M. from Roswell, Georgia. Marlo, first to like, thumbs up, folks. Thanks, Marlo. Appreciate that. And Brad Hoos, glad you made it, comp. Hello from New York City. So we got Angelo Gross Enthusiast. I have a feeling that Angelo Gross Enthusiast is like a Joe Dumars shooting guard. I got him in the guard. Fashenko, I got Fashenko inside because Old Tuck's not here tonight. Excuse me. That's disgusting. We don't have a cough button here. Very primitive. Got Fashenko, elbows. He's not skilled enough to be a stretch four. He's an old school four. Eric M. from Roswell, Georgia. He's running the point. Got Marlowe on the wing. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Brad Hoos. What position's left? The point. We got Eric M. at the point. Got Marlowe at a wing. We got Gross as a wing. We got Fashenko at the 4. I guess we got Hoos inside. No, we had Fashenko inside. I forget. But we appreciate those people for tuning in quickly for us, being the first people here, checking in. Ronnie from Boston, Massachusetts is here. Spartan MD, he wants to be 6th man off the bench. You got it. 6th man off the bench. Speaking of which, I was watching USA last night against France. France with a victory over USA. Draymond Green, Michigan State, Spartan, is really into it. You know, he's an ultra teammate in the NBA. He's an ultra teammate on that team. You know, USA was trying to do a lot of switching. They're playing small, quote unquote, positionless. So on defense against France, who could go big, they were switching everything, switching all screens. At one point, I rewound it. I was just watching Draymond. Draymond guarded 4 different players in one possession. He guarded basically 2 through 5 in a matter of 25 seconds. Switch, take this guy, switch, took everybody. And he was verbal and communicating. And then when he's not in there, the communication on defense suffered. They lost that game a couple times. There was a miscommunication on a screen, on a switch. Guy got open, three-pointer, boom. Guy got open, three-pointer, boom. That was 3. I think that was 6 of the 16 points, with France ending that game on a 16-2 run. Adebayo missed a couple of free throws. France went old school Twin Towers. They had Rudy Gobert, and then they had some dude with a beard that was a legit 7-footer from the European League. Don't know who he was, but he was solid. And they brought in Taco Fall. He was doing his thing. And the length bothered the United States around the rim when Michigan State. When the United States would drive, they had trouble finishing. I mean, these great players, Booker and Durant, was in foul trouble. And they had trouble finishing around the rim. They were reduced to being a jump shot team like you see in the NBA all the time. France, they were getting those switches and going inside and getting just enough done. And France was more together on defense, made fewer mistakes on defense. United States looked like they were going to go ahead and put it away up 7 with about 5 minutes to go, and then just kind of hit a wall. And then were they sharing the ball too much? I don't know. You know, then they're shooting for stuffed animals. You know, that's what I call it, 3-pointers in the NBA or even college basketball these days. It's all 3-pointers. I don't hate it. It's. I'm not saying it's not an entertaining style of play. I'm not saying it's the most effective style of play. But I mean, people my age remember when the post-up was a big deal and inside out and all those things. Post-up's gone away in the NBA because you're allowed to tackle inside. Secondly, it makes sense. You know, the old Akeem Olajuwon turnaround jumper, Patrick Ewing turnaround jumper, Robert Parrish turnaround jumper. That's a more difficult shot than a semi-open 3-pointer. And it's worth 50% fewer points. A 3-pointer's worth 3. A 2-pointer's worth 2. A turnaround jumper in the lane is more difficult than a face-up 3. So why would you take a more difficult shot that's worth 33% less? So that's why it's all 3-pointers. So I understand that. But what's become the situation in basketball and college basketball, I've used the word random. The games are so much more random. Now, this year in college basketball, Baylor and Gonzaga were the best, and they made it the farthest. Michigan was very good. Ran out of gas a little bit. Everybody else was pretty much random throughout the country. Random. Michigan State would look good they had their problems. Everybody knows that. Beat Illinois, beat Ohio State, beat Michigan down the stretch. Great stretch run for Michigan State basketball last March to get into the tournament. Then they turn around and lose to Nebraska by 20 or Rutgers by 20. That's just Michigan State. Had a lot of other factors. We all know that. But around the country, you'll see it. I mean, basketball's always been that the way to some extent. At home, a team looks good. Go on the road, lose, Jekyll and Hyde. It's even more pronounced now. It's just random. It's hard to it's hard to handicap those games. It's hard to anticipate who's going to win a given game. Ohio State, 15 years ago, when teams were attempting more 2-point field goals, it was screening, it was defensive communication, more game played within 18 or 15 feet of the rim. It was easier to say, okay, Michigan State is playing Illinois, they'll beat Illinois because they're better at this, and the machinery will work, and it'll happen. Now it's so much more of it is random because of the 3-point shot, because back then games were decided by 50% field goals attempts. The shots that people were taking were 48% shots, 52% shots, depending on how good the player was and how good a look he got and how good the offense was that you ran, how good the screen was, and how bad the defense was, or how good the defense was, what defensive communication, how good that was. Games were decided on 52% shots, 50% shots. Now games are decided on 33% shots. A 3-point shot is basically a 33% field goal. I know some teams get hot and go 40% from 3, and the real good shooters go 40% from 3. Some teams get cold and they go 20% from 3 for a game. Essentially, it's a 33% shot. Games are decided on 33% shots as opposed to 50% shots, and therein lies the random nature of basketball. And United States, a lot of one-on-one stuff, and you watch NBA games. You watch the press conferences with Popovich and these guys. They get the stat sheet and they look at 3-point percentage. How'd you shoot from 3? That'll determine whether you won the game or not these days, begrudgingly. And it's like they're shooting for stuffed animals at the carnival. You're just shooting who's going to win. It's a make or miss league. All that stuff. All those cliches. Last night, United States was a miss team more often than France, but France went inside a lot. Twin Towers, old school. And Popovich sitting there, I don't know about him. I know he's won 5 titles with the Spurs and all that garbage, but I don't know. The players, they were trying. The effort was good. You can say the effort wasn't good on that miscommunication on some of those screens that I just mentioned. That needs to get better. And if Draymond is on the court, it will be better. And I'll be interested to see what adjustments they make. Crunch time in the future. Is Draymond more a part of that because he will be more, he'll hold the teammates a little more accountable, and he'll be better for the defensive collective in terms of communication. He's also setting screens like crazy. Screen. He set screens for the Warriors all the time anyway, you guys know that. But for this team, screen. He's all about it. And then he didn't play the last, 7-8 minutes, and he was okay with that, but I wonder if they will be at their best, if they'll be better served with Draymond Green on the court more often. They play Iran and I think Czech Republic. So they'll go 2-1. And then I think that I don't know how the format is. I think that might put them in the round of 8 from there. But France is pretty solid. And if you're like me, you're a USA basketball guy. I get mad at the USA. I like the guys. I appreciate that they're on the team doing their best and all that stuff. If it's Michigan State or the Tigers or, other teams that I watch or whatever, win, lose, whatever. When it comes to USA basketball, I'm like a New York Yankees fan. I get mad when they don't win because they're supposed to win. But I appreciate the guys that are on that team trying and giving up their summer to be a part of it. I do. But I'm a demanding fan when it comes to USA basketball. So we'll see them again a little bit later. Anyway, let's go over here to the comments for a couple. Let's see if there's any questions over here. Go green. Hey, fellow Spartans. Super sticker, 99 cents from my man Spartan MD. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ronnie says, I'll be Darrell Summers hiding in the corner. Spartan MD says, enjoying a pour of Wilderness Trail bourbon. Wow. Excuse me. $1 for the tip jar. Appreciate that. Spartan MD. Rob South says, what's up, fellas? Noah Sprunger in the house. Evening, folks. Noah Sprunger is intern extraordinaire for SpartanMag.com. Thanks a lot, Noah, for all the work you do. Also, Jason Killip, Kenny Jordan, Conan Dyke. and the rest, all those guys. George Page with a thumbs up. No Iris says, sup, everybody. Jacob Terry says, Dante Moore would be an insane pickup. Yes, it would. Big-time talent. Big-time quarterback talent. I mean, like, Clemson and Ohio State, they're interested right now. Do they go full blast for him? He might be, Clemson and Ohio State, they don't go after just anybody. Dante Moore might be a Clemson, Ohio State quarterback recruit. Notre Dame could get in there also. But Michigan State is right in there. And if Michigan State has like a pretty good year this year, 6-6, 7-5, feeling good about it. Mel Tucker, getting to know these guys a little bit more. Come back the next year, going into a senior year. Could be there for him. Chad Hartman says, hey, Comp, are you planning on being at the Northwestern game? Yes, I am. Jacob Terry says, Malik Carr almost has a Dream Waller-like build. Oh, Darren Waller-like build. Jacob Terry shows some knowledge here and there if you've been keeping score. Randall Owen says, Comp, what's your take on the ideal number of quarterbacks in that room? That was the question we had from Nick from Lakeland, Florida a minute ago. Ideal number, I think you always have like 4 scholarship guys coming and going, right? And various levels of how, what do we have there? Nick Harrington. What we got from Nick Harrington? Nick Harrington with a personal sponsorship. Certainly appreciate that. Now, during rehearsal, I found the horn. Now I can't find it again. Wait, I know where it is. Right there. There we go. Nick Harrington from Lakeland, Florida. Tip jar. Personal sponsorship. Spartan MD, second night in a row. $1 for the tip jar. Thanks to Spartan MD and all you guys. Appreciate that. Ideal number, I don't know, 3 or 4, something like that. Ideally, you want to get someone like this Hauser kid. Hamp Fay looks good. Dante Moore looks good if you can get him. That'd be outstanding. Noah Kim, a little bit of a diamond in the rough. I don't know what's going to happen to him. It's going to be pretty crowded, but I think he's going to play some good quarterback somewhere for somebody. Might be Michigan State. I don't know. Peyton Thorne's looking good. I think Thorne and Kim were good evaluations by the previous staff and Brad Salem. Hampton Fay, like I said, strong-bodied guy, straight-line athlete, strong arm, needs to be more refined. He's working at it. Reminds me of Connor Cook in that way. Going out and getting Russo. Russo is thrown for a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of interceptions. But, man, it's a competition. They're going to get a good, solid quarterback out of that deal this year. Spartan MD Comp, your thoughts on preferred walk-on for Izzo? They got the guy from Western Michigan out of Iron Mountain. What do you average? About 5 points a game. Whiten, whatever his name was, top 5 in state and Mr. Basketball. I've not seen him play. I know that Rod and some of those guys over at the Final Forum were commenting about him. Rod and, was it Rhino? I don't know, but they've seen him. They know more about him than I do. But, to be a walk-on to help, you need to be a guy that can play defense first, like the kid from Okemos a couple years ago. Not Ianni and not the most recent kid. I'm talking about the guy that came in and had to play meaningful minutes in the regional final against Tennessee back in 2010 at the Final Four in St. Louis. What's the guy's name? Had never played much, but he could move his feet. He was 6'4" and could do it. Defense first. You bring a preferred walk-on in, you're not going to be running offense for him. You're not going to be running a down screen for him coming off curl, 15 feet, catch and shoot. No, other people will be the primary options. But you need good talent on the scout team. And Michigan State with only 10 or only 11 scholarship players this year. Adding these walk-ons helps the scout team. And you need a scout team. And the other guy from U of D, originally from Africa, did an article about him a couple months ago. Stock on the rise type of guy. I mean, that guy thinks a lot of himself. Plans to come in and earn a scholarship. Maybe he'll get one at some point. But just scratching the surface in terms of basketball, that guy is. But, excuse me, for years, we've written about preferred walk-ons on the way in. And usually half of them don't last more than a year or two. Just the way it is. Especially the ones that come in with really high opinions of what they want to do. Think of like Jason Vincent. pretty good player, ended up transferring where to Central Michigan, something like that. Jason Weber, same thing. He went to Central. There was the big man that was a baseball player, 6'10" guy, was solid for a year, then left. So, hey, they can help. You need those guys. And a program like Izzo's, you're going to get a pretty good pick of preferred walk-on litter. Excuse me. Big Will says, Alex Van Sumeren would be a nice get. It's looking good right now. Yes, it is. Alex Van Sumeren, 4-star defensive tackle, Essexville Garber. His brother came to Michigan State as a transfer during the offseason. And Michigan State's looking like the leader there. And that could be happening pretty soon. So that would be Michigan State's first consensus 4-star. Some people have Antonio Gates as a 4-star. Gates is not a Rivals.com 4-star. Van Sumeren is. I think Michigan State's got a real good chance to get him. I think that's going to be happening pretty soon. Confidence meter is up there. Up over 75%. MSU 210 Champ says, thoughts on 4-star kids coming up. Michigan State's percentage. You're just asking about that. So I'm going to say 75% Van Sumeren. Ryan Baer, I still have him at 50-50. Have gotten no further indications on him. 4-star Jaden Mangum. Hey, West Virginia went out and made him feel very loved. And they like West Virginia. West Virginia's doing a good job going full court press on some people. Michigan State liked Mangum. They liked some other safeties. They liked him, kept him warm. Meanwhile, West Virginia was keeping him red hot. So Michigan State's come on lately, had a Zoom with him. They were scheduled to have a Zoom with him on Saturday. I've not confirmed whether or not that took place or not. And, of course, Jaden Mangum is supposed to visit for the big barbecue. I think it's a barbecue on July 31st, which is the last big recruit get-together before the coaches focus on the coming football season. Difference is they'll focus on the coming football season, but they will still continue to do recruiting every day. Mel Tucker makes sure that they do recruiting every day. In the past, recruiting was not done by every single coach every single day. So although they will be buttoning down, getting ready for fall camp, recruiting will still be going on, just won't be any face-to-face. So Michigan State's trying to rally here with Mangum. He's expecting to decide August 1st. It might be good for Michigan State if Michigan State really wants him if Mangum delays it past August 1st. If that happens, that might be a good sign for Michigan State. Right now, I think West Virginia, I'd give them percentage chance on that one. So that's where I am on those 4-stars. You get those 4-stars, and if you have Gates as a 4-star, I think Hauser, I don't know if he becomes a 4-star or not. I mean, he really impressed a lot of people at the Elite 11 for what that's worth. You know, he still splits time with a 4-star at St. John Bosco Prep in California. Might Rivals.com up his ranking to a 4-star? It's possible. I don't know. I've not talked to them. But I would think, I mean, I've never been all that big on Elite 11 stuff. Some of it is okay, but you can never replicate the pass rush and the reading of coverages there. It's kind of a trick shot camp, right? But I mean, arm strength, accuracy, that stuff. And he's got that. But what I think he does best is process coverage and make quick decisions. You see that on his film. 4-star, I think he's a 4-star. Brian Lewerke was a 4-star, he's a 4-star. So you need to have about 6 or 7 4-star recruits in Rivals.com in order to have a top 25 class, pretty much. So I don't know if they're going to get 6 or 7. Is Gates a 4-star? Some people, yes. Rivals.com, probably not going to happen. Hauser, maybe. They get Mangum, maybe not. Baer, maybe not. Van Sumeren, probably get him. Could have gotten Kevin Thomas. I think he's going to end up at West Virginia. I think I'd rather have Gates than Kevin Thomas. Thomas is ranked higher. He would help your class rankings better, but I think Gates has a higher upside. All right, George Page says, I'll be there, section 131 at Evanston. Sounds good, man. Anthony Mason, thanks, Doors fan. I didn't have any cue cards on that one. Is this heaven? 2 podcasts in 2 days? Yes, it is. No, it's not, Gordon Tonona. This is not heaven. This is Iowa. Michael Muscari says, does his dad live in Dearborn? Antonio Gates Sr.? I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not sure. MSU number 1 fan says, do you think that Coach Tucker will use Mike Hart's comments from 2006 against Michigan this year? No, Tucker is even keel. Whatever he did, he got Michigan State all juiced and lathered up to play Michigan, and it worked out great, right? And I'm sure that you saw the pregame speech prior to the game, and he was frothing. I mean, he was rabid, right? Do they still have the countdown clock? I don't know. So he's got a different construct on that, and it certainly worked last year. But little brother thing, he doesn't use that. He's more even keel on that stuff. Mike Hart, I know Mike Hart being at Michigan and all that. Maybe. I doubt it. I doubt it. If it happens, we won't hear about it, but I doubt it. I don't know. Good question. Good question. Jason Killip in the house. Been doing a great job at SpartanMag.com for a long time. Good to see Jason at camp on Sunday. Always good to see him. Fine young man. Gordon Tenoda says they do every year, so maybe they will. I don't know. Sprung or Jason Killip. Those two are pretty good. No callers tonight. Doors fan. Well, Doors fan, why don't you give us a call and let us know what your favorite Doors song is? Doors did not have like Porky Pig over here. Did not have a guitarist, did they? Psychedelic stuff. MSU number one fan says, can you tell me what the call-in number is? It's 616-439-1158. That's 616-439-1158. Yes, that is a West Michigan number, but we are broadcasting live today from East Lansing, Michigan. I got the number. It was a Grand Rapids number. Not sure how that happened. Gerard Fenical says, when do you think Bear will commit? The date. I've not talked to his dad about it recently, but I think it's going to be before fall camp begins for the high schools. So that's got to be coming up pretty soon, right? I got to check in with him to see if anything's going on. But he's torn on that. He likes Michigan State, likes Kentucky. Marcus D says, Anthony Russo, what chances does he have to win the starting job, and what does he really do really well? He needs to, I think, I'd call it 50-50. I'd say maybe 51-40, 51-49 maybe in favor of Russo. Thorne was good in the spring. Russo, just kind of a strong-arm guy. Scrappy. He's quarterback. Strong arm. Good release. Looks like a quarterback.
Yankee Tree Farm. Last day of the season for 2020 is December 10th.
To accept, press 1.
Robocall spams reaching Spartan Mag Live tonight. Russo, you probably saw the green-white game, the scrimmage, right? And we ran video of him here at Spartan Mag Live after he committed, 4 or 5 months ago. I don't have those highlights. I just deleted them, I think. See if I can find those. Let me look for them. But Russo has got some mobility to him. Let's see here. Is this the highlight thing? This is not the one that, this is the old one. I put together a highlight package from when they played Memphis. That's a little, I like just looking at a complete game rather than highlight packages. I like to see the incompletions in the whole thing. So there's an out route right there to the long side of the field. Looked like 14-yard out, 14-yard fade. Anyway, I don't know if we're going to really go through all this again, but you've seen him. This is what he looks like. Strong arm. He's solid. He's good. He's a good candidate for that job. Let's go back here to today's questions that were posted. Because I posted that we're going to be having the Spartan Mag Live tonight, and some people were kind enough to post some questions over at the Underground Bunker message board. Let me go back and retrieve some of those if I can find it here. Here it is right here. I skimmed through these earlier, but I do not have prepared answers prepared. All right. Ranger 410 from Royal Oak says, hey, Jim, what have you heard? What are the positives regarding the basketball team at Michigan State currently? reports have been quiet for the most part, despite all the video highlights we have seen of summer practices. Gabe Brown looking good. He's going to become more of a primary option guy. He's excited about it. A lot of those guys, last year, this is true all over the country, but at Michigan State, the amount of off-season progress you usually see did not happen because of COVID. Happens at a lot of places, happened at Michigan State, maybe more pronounced at Michigan State. I know all programs really emphasize off-season development, but Michigan State's had a lot of success with that over the years. Last year, only got a little bit. Now this year, I think you'll get some of that and then some. I think Gabe Brown, he'll get more touches as a primary. He's been inconsistent over the years. He's putting the ball on the deck a little bit better. So I think he becomes a scorer. Aaron Henry this year averaged, about 15 a game? Prior to that, what did he average? Not nearly that much, right? Those will be Gabe Brown's numbers this year. Marcus Bingham, I know every year, can he get bigger? Is this the year he breaks through? I was talking to Dwayne Stevens about it about a month ago, and he says Bingham is ready to realize more of that potential this year. Max Christie is expected. I'm expecting him to be one of the top 3 scorers on the team. Those guys are looking good. And A.J. Hogard is improved, much improved. He struggled last year. Had some weight problems, had some injuries, trying to, kind of square peg, round hole a little bit at point, but he's good. Now, Tyson Walker, the point, is doing well. I thought his film at Northeastern was excellent, but Hogard's right there with him. So, some of that's all that's pretty good, right? But you've got a lot of big men there that have been proven big men to an extent earlier in their career. Now they're all back except for Kithier. They're all a year older and a year stronger. So Marble's bigger and stronger, banging. Sissoko, bigger, stronger, running the floor, rim protection. Hauser's got to become more consistent, of course.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
I didn't hear your name, but we're going to bring you on. This could be dangerous. Going out to Pennsylvania, I believe. Did not get your name, sir, but welcome to SpartanMag Live.
Hello, my name's Noah Morrow from Saxon, Pennsylvania.
How are you?
Good, doing good. Did they announce our TV schedule for the games?
For football?
Yeah.
No. No, that's not out yet. Now, the Northwestern game will be on Big Ten Network Friday night of Labor Day weekend for sure. I can look that up, but I've not heard. I've not heard that, but they'll be on somewhere.
Okay.
This is Noah from Pennsylvania.
Yep.
All right. What else is going on, man?
Not much. What are your thoughts on Mel Tucker's recruiting class?
Thus far, ranked number 25 in the country by Rivals.com. They're all 3-star recruits, so it's consistent, solid recruiting. Going out of state for nine recruits out of state. It's more of a national construct. Chase Carter, the defensive end, at 6'6". Recently, like him, I like Gates, the guy they picked up today. Had his film on earlier tonight. I think he's got a lot of potential. His father, of course, is an all-timer. But like his dad says, let Antonio Gates be Antonio Gates Jr. Let him be himself. Different type of guy. Gates Jr. reminds me a little bit of Devin Thomas. Devin Thomas was a junior college wide receiver, came to Michigan State in the John L. Smith era, played for D'Antonio for 1 year, became an NFL draft pick, turned pro early. 6'1", long strider. Gates Jr. reminds me of Devin Thomas. He's got that type of potential long term. Quarterback, I think Hauser's a good one. They went after some big-time running backs, didn't get one, so they're going to stand pat without running backs. Wide receivers, they've got 3. Terrell Henry. Henry has grown an inch since they got a commitment from him. When they saw him when they've seen him on campus, they were like, "Man, you're taller than the last time we saw you." I'm running film right now of Henry at the camp at Ferris State. No defense here, but circus catch here. Terrell Henry from Roseville, Michigan, going up and getting that one. Not bad. Squaring off, pretty good footwork, cutting that one tight on the in cut and adjusting to a high thrown pass. And that's pretty darn good right there. So Henry's interesting. The Glover kid, I was talking to some people down there that really like the Glover kid from Sarasota. 6'1". We'll see about Glover. Ade Willie from Bradenton IMG. I like that Michigan State's getting into IMG. They've got some connections there. I think Ade Willie as a corner is the most underrated player in this class. I think he's a 4-star talent. He's a 3-star, whatever. Jack Nickel, the tight end from Georgia, looks like a tight end at 6'4", 230 as a blocker, as a route runner, hands. Michigan State at tight end has had too many tight ends that have been projects or don't look like tight ends. Nickel looks like a tight end. Michael Masunas at 6'5" out of Arizona looks like a tight end. And Masunas was at camp this weekend. So I like what they've done at tight end. Wide receiver, pretty good. Quarterback, quite good. Corner, good. Shannon Blair out of Tennessee, okay, maybe not a difference maker. They like him. Harlan likes him. We'll wait and see what he becomes. Offensive line, look like offensive linemen. They have recruited a different grade of offensive linemen this year. Big square body guys that look like offensive linemen, not projects. Braden Miller, 6'7", 290, moves well out of Colorado. I like him. Ashton Lepo was kind of a dark horse coming out of Grand Haven. Good athlete at about 6'7", keeps getting bigger up around 280 now. Gavin Brocious, good one, banger. Guard or tackle, 6'5", 300 out of Arizona. Christian Phillips out of Georgia, I'd like to see him. He's 6'5", 335. He's looked okay at some camps. I'd like to see him be able to bend his knees a little bit more. I think he's more of a waist bender. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you every single guy is good, but I think offensive line looks good. Quarterback's good. Wide receiver, all right. Corner, some good ones. So now they got to get busy with some, linebackers and maybe defensive linemen here to round out the class. So it's on course to being like I think comfortably a top 40 class. And you just don't want to get outside of the top 50 in recruiting. Ideally, you'd like to get in the top 15 to compete for conference championships and so forth, although they won conference championships with Antonio with top 25 type of recruiting classes. If they were to get Van Summer in, and if Hauser becomes a 4-star, Hauser's going to be Hauser no matter where he's ranked. He's going to be the same guy. But if he becomes a 4-star and you get Van Summer in, Gates, I don't know if he'll be elevated to 4-star or not. It's possible, I guess. If you can get Ryan Baer, get Mangum, and maybe one or two others, if you get 5 or 6 4-stars, then you got a chance to have a top 25, top 20 class. I'm not sure that's going to happen. I'm guessing the class will end up being ranked around 35 or 30, but a lot of solid 3-stars, some underrated offensive linemen, underrated corner, underrated quarterback. That's the way they got to do it right now. They believe in their evaluation. They're going after some big-timers coast to coast. As of now, it's kind of hard to get those guys. If they start winning, they can get more of those, but they're recruiting in multiple states and not taking any reaches. And I think recruiting looks pretty solid. I think it looks good. What do you think?
I'd like to see Coach Tuck recruit a couple more fullbacks.
Yeah, fullback. Yeah, fullback. They don't really use a fullback. D'Antonio did. They don't use, but these guys, they'll use, a moving H and tight ends, but they don't, they don't really use fullbacks. The fullback that they inherited, what was his name? I forget what his name is, but he transferred to Illinois. He's going to play for Bielema now. But I appreciate that you like the fullback idea, but that's not what they're going to be doing. Anything else?
I don't think we had a solid tight end since Josiah Price, right?
Probably right. Price was a good one. Since then, they brought, what's that? Paul Lang? Yeah. Your players. That's cool. Lang was good. He battled some injuries, right? But he was serviceable when he was healthy.
I think his name was Jamal Lyles. Was a good one, too.
Lyles was solid. Yeah. But you're right.
Pendleton. Pendleton can play full or tight end.
He was an H and he was a fullback. Yeah, and he cut touchdown pass in the Rose Bowl. He's coaching. Yeah. He's high school varsity coach in Southeast Ohio now. Right? Actually, right across the river from. He might be in West Virginia. Actually, he's on the river down there. And they've got a player that Michigan State's looking at. I can't think who it is right now. But Pendleton's a varsity coach down there right now. Pendleton was a good, solid fullback. He was injured in high school as a senior. Otherwise, he might have been like a MAC tailback for somebody. He had scholarship offers. He was a big-time tailback in high school. Michigan State brought him in, converted him to fullback, consummate, team-oriented guy, and he was a plus fullback and an important member of that 2013 Rose Bowl team, Pendleton. I'm impressed that you know your people, I tell you that. But you're right, tight ends, they've not had like quality tight ends in a while. Matt Dotson was supposed to be that guy. He was a 4-star recruit out of Cincinnati Moeller. and had some athletic ability, but he was kind of a project. He was a split end at Moeller. They didn't use him as a tight end attached to the offensive tackle. So he needed to add weight, had a nice frame at 6'5", needed to add weight and become a blocker, and worked hard to become that. Interrupted by injuries, never became the tight end that he wanted to be probably, and maybe could have become, but not through a lack of effort. He tried, he did his best, but was a project because he was a wide receiver in high school. But you're right, they've not really had, and Josiah Price was a really good pass catcher, but just kind of a so-so blocker. What they're wanting is a guy that can do everything, which there aren't a lot of those people around anymore. But Jay Johnson, offensive coordinator, really believes in the tight end to be the MVP of the offense. Of course, quarterback is the actual MVP, but tight ends have to do so many things, and he wants them to do all those things. And they're putting a high standard of what they want their tight ends to be, and they don't really have that on their roster right now. But Nickel and Masunis are steps in that direction.
Yeah, they can always move Beasley, the tight end, if they had to.
And Parks Kissinger's moved over there from defensive end, didn't really pan out at defensive end. Jack Camper came in as a tight end, but played defensive end as a high school senior at IMG in Florida. They recruited Camper. They liked him as a sophomore tight end out of Virginia Beach. Bowman did. Then he transfers to IMG, becomes a defensive end. I'm not sure he started at IMG. Comes into Michigan State as a tight end, having not played tight end as a senior in high school. Stuck at tight end for a short time, moved him to defensive end. They liked what he looked like initially, but didn't pan out at tight end. Defensive end, he's had some chances here and there. I think he started as a true freshman at Arizona State. Been on the field, off the field, injuries. You know, maybe he can step, you know, right now he's probably third string defensive end, but he's still hanging around and still trying to do his thing. But Camper's another guy at the tight end position that, you know, they tried to get and didn't quite pan out. Gissinger, you know, Beasley's a tight end. Beasley's a good defensive end. You're not going to move him to tight end. You know, they need him at defensive end. He's solid there. Enough of an athlete. Maybe he could do it. I don't know anything about his hands. Kind of like Burgorst is the guy I want to see. 6'7", big frame. Hands, not sure. I think I'm just not sure about his hands. We'll see. Anything else? Appreciate you calling.
Yeah, Matt Circle and Matt Seibert, too, are the two tight ends.
Seibert, great point. You know, Seibert coming in, transferring from Buffalo, and 2 years ago was excellent. Excellent. Good blocker. And, you know, he had to be excellent because the tight end situation was so sticky. It wasn't good by any means. So the door was open for him to come in and do some things, did some things. He's playing in this, whatever that minor league was that was taking place this spring and summer. He was in that. I'm really surprised he didn't get more of a free agent look. I know COVID upset a lot of things, the draft the year before, but I think Seibert, I look at some players that have made the NFL out of Michigan State in the past, and I think Seibert could have been and maybe still could be an NFL tight end. He was excellent. Excellent job on your behalf reminding me about him, but that's a tight end that ended up being a good tight end for 2 years that was not part of any of the recruiting classes. Traverse City guy brought in as a transfer, and he was good. He was good.
How close is the quarterback competition with Peyton Thorne, Anthony Russo, and Noah Kim?
It's 50-50. Kim looked good. We talked about this earlier. Kim looked good in that scrimmage. And I like Noah Kim. I watched him closely when he was in high school, interviewed him a couple times, streamed a couple of his games live when he was in high school. Slight build guy, but he impressed me in that spring scrimmage. He was better than I anticipated. And I think maybe better than the coaches anticipated throughout the spring. So he's around. He's still competing. I think he can play quality quarterback for somebody. I mean, I think Michigan State's quarterback position is in good shape, whether it's Russo and Thorne this year, and maybe Thorne in the future, Hauser in the future possibly, maybe Kim, maybe Hampton Fay in there. Maybe Kim never quite gets his shot at Michigan State. But there's a lot of good quarterbacks all over the country that go elsewhere and gain traction. Maybe he's a guy that goes to Old Dominion or Coastal Carolina or someplace and lights it up. I don't know. I think he's good. He's got something. Maybe it's here. I don't know.
I think Michigan State should look at Aaron Day, lineman from Pennsylvania.
So you're a Pennsylvania person. I don't know much about the person you're talking about. Where's Aaron Day going?
Yeah. I don't know, but he is a great defensive and offensive lineman.
Really?
Yeah.
Is a senior right now?
He is a senior this year. Yep.
What high school?
Tuskegee Mountain.
All right. I'll look that person up. There's a lot of good players out there. Hey, I appreciate you calling and all your good questions and all your comments. And thanks for contributing to Spartan Mag Live tonight.
All right, thank you. Go Green, beat Michigan.
All right, there you go. That was refreshing, wasn't it? A lot of good questions there. All right, so let's go back here to the mailbag real quick. Questions posted today. All right, this is from Sparty on 6686 from New York City. What do you predict the offense will do differently given that they have new guys with unique talents? Kenneth Walker, Harold Joyner, Carr, Fitz. And he says, he says, and do you think they might use Hayward as a run-it-down-your-throat guy now that he's 240? Eventually, the move to smaller, speedy linebackers is going to hurt defenses as offenses go back to I-formation power football. Hey, that's the cyclical nature of football, and you might be right about that. Defenses adjust to spread tempo with lighter linebackers. The teams that can load it up and go power football might have an advantage. I know that some of the Wisconsin people thought that. I know that, D'Antonio and Staten used to think that if you had the ability to go I formation and run power between the tackles, that the old conventional football becomes the oddball knuckleball. Effectively so. That's a theory. I think if you look around football, I know Jimbo Fisher did it at Florida State. I don't know if he's doing it at A&M now as much. But last year I detected that there was more of that, under center power football coming back a little bit here and there. And Michigan State will go under center 5 or 6 times a game. They did it last year. Run it down your throat, that could be done. Can Hayward do it? He's put weight on for some reason. I think that he's maybe going to be more of a move H-back type of guy, a move tight end, an insert blocker type of guy that can also bluff a block and go to the flat for a pass or out and up because he's got some of that versatility to him. Between the tackles, banger, I don't know if that's his bag. But I like what you're saying, that cyclical nature of college football could turn around there at some point. Ronnie M. 671 says, so with conference realignment and players being paid legally, do you get the feeling this is the last year of college football as we grew up loving? Do you think the game will be stronger or weaker in terms of tradition and fan loyalty? I think fan loyalty could be weaker, maybe not because of name, image, and likeness and payments, maybe a little bit for some people. But conference realignment, I think, college football is becoming more regional now, and I talked about this yesterday. If you go back 100 years ago in the 1920s and 30s, college football was big in the New York area, New York City, Army, Fordham, Columbia. When I say big, I mean comparatively. Not as big as Major League Baseball was back then, but there was no pro football, no pro basketball, and NHL was in its infancy. Rowing was big. If you ever go back and look at the sports pages from the 1920s and 30s, boxing, rowing, cycling in New York City, college football. College football, the Ivy League schools, Yale, Harvard, Columbia, there was a following there. Then Ivy League started de-emphasizing college football. Their choice, probably for good reason, want to do their own thing. So college football became less of a thing out east. I mean, Lehigh, Colgate, those schools still had their teams, whatever. But then the NFL came around, became more popular in the 50s and 60s, and college football not as big in the Northeast, in Boston, in New York. You guys all know that. New England, you guys know that. But it was big in the West Coast. USC, UCLA, Rose Bowl, all that stuff. Well, now USC's not been good in a while. UCLA's not been good in a while. Oregon has done some things. But West Coast football, TV ratings are down. Attendance is down. Player participation is down in the high school levels out there. And the best players in California are being recruited out to Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. So I heard Andy Staples talking about this, and even Neuheisel, about West Coast football. If they lose the West Coast, you're going to end up with college football having fans in the Southeast and the Midwest, and that's it. And that's not healthy for anybody, is it? And at some point, is it just Southeast? Does it become like NASCAR? I don't know. But Down south, they will not be bothered at all about players getting paid. They believe the players should be getting paid all along, and they've been doing it. And if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Well, it's not cheating anymore, so they're okay with that. Here's the other thing: name, image, and likeness. Saban was talking about this the other day, that their new quarterback has the potential to get 7 figures, $1 million this year in name, image, and likeness endorsements. Because if you're the quarterback at the University of Alabama, the state of Alabama, you can write a big ticket in terms of which corporations want you to sponsor them, even if it's just statewide regional sponsorships. Or, playing at golf tournaments or doing $1 million is $1 million, right? And there's going to be that'll be true maybe in Gainesville, Auburn, Mississippi to a lesser extent, but it'll happen there. Knoxville probably, especially if they get some good teams and some standout players. There will be some name, image, and likeness contracts for players at Michigan and Ohio State, because it's going to be a big fish at Ohio State, a little bit at Penn State. But at Michigan State, there'll be some, but it won't be $1 million. It won't be close. There'll be some in Indiana, probably for basketball, but for football, there'll be a little bit, but not close. Purdue, a little bit. Minnesota, a little bit. Iowa, some. Nebraska, a lot. But down south, there'll be more of it. And I wonder, these days, if you're a really good high school baseball recruit, like really good, like in the state of Michigan, you're going to LSU or Tennessee, you're going somewhere down south. That's where the best college baseball is. That's where they can give you more of the bells and whistles. And at Vanderbilt, they can give you more scholarship money because of endowments and things. University of Michigan a little bit also, but down south. Best baseball players go down south. That's where the best players are. That's where the bells and whistles are. With name, image, and likeness, I fear for Big Ten schools, because the best players from Ohio, Detroit, Chicago, in the future, is it going to be harder to keep them home? I mean, in some cases, there have been players, that people think that have been bought by schools down south, and that's happened. Now it's not going to be illegal, but because football is bigger down there, and because fans are more fanatical about it down there, and there's more brand loyalty to those things, then endorsement deals are going to be more available down there, I think. And I wonder if you're a recruit from, if you're Antonio Gates Jr., you're looking at Michigan State, okay, what kind of name, image, and likeness endorsement deals can I get here? Quality Dairy, whatever. I was using them as an example, but that's what I mean. There'll be some, but it's not going to be extravagant. And let's say he's being recruited by Ole Miss. College football is the sport in Mississippi. They don't have pro baseball, no NBA, no NFL. It's Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And there's going to be more, even though Mississippi is not it's certainly not one of the richer states in the union, but I suspect there will be more sponsorship opportunities because college football players are bigger celebrities in that state comparatively than they are in this state. They go wild over it down there. And with that could come better sponsorship deals, like the $1 million thing Saban's talking about. Now I know that's Alabama, that's as big as it gets. But where does that come in recruiting? I saw Barry Alvarez interviewed about it in Indianapolis, and he's working for the Big Ten in an official capacity now, and he says he's worried about name, image, and likeness and sponsorships becoming enticements in recruiting. He's worried about it. He'd like to see some guardrails. We heard about guardrails from the NCAA 10 months ago on this. NCAA's basically gone laissez-faire on this deal, hands off. Alvarez says he'd like to see that, but guess what? It's not going to happen. It is going to be an enticement. It will be part of recruiting. And which of these programs, which of these colleges can offer the more lucrative and more bountiful and more plentiful sponsorship deals? It's going to be in the South, where it just means more. I've told this story before, and a lot of you live down there. You know how it is. I was at, it was 2003. Michigan State was in the second round of the NCAA tournament, playing in Tampa against the Florida Gators. Michigan State upset number 2 seed Florida, blew them out. They had Anthony Roberson. Michigan State had Paul Davis and some of those guys, Anna Gagne. Ager was a freshman, I think. And Lorbeck had a good run that March. Anyway, blew out Florida. You know, late in the first half, Michigan State's up by 10, 11, whatever. We're in Tampa. They're playing the Gators. Very much a Gator crowd, of course. And all of a sudden, people start standing up. Oh, wow, wow. They're looking. People standing up. The game is going on. And all these Florida fans are standing up and looking in the tunnel because somebody's in the tunnel, someone famous, right? I'm thinking, I don't know, Muhammad Ali. I don't know. The President of the United States. I don't know. Everybody's looking. Oh, there's all whispers. Oh, wow, wow. People are like all excited and giddy. You know who it was? It was like Rex Grossman, Florida's quarterback. And he wasn't even in the pros yet. It's just Florida's quarterback, who wasn't that great. Florida was okay. But all these idiots are at a college basketball game. The game is going on, and they're all looking at Rex Grossman in T-shirt and jeans. Well, it's that mentality that's going to fuel name, image, and likeness sponsorship opportunities for athletes like that in that part of the country. So, I mean, if you're a recruit in Los Angeles, you're going to go to USC. I mean, there's not, you know, it's a huge city, and USC's big when they're good. Otherwise, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And you tell that guy, hey, you come to LSU, and, you know, we can get you a sponsorship deal with Billy Bob's Crawdad restaurant for, you know, $30,000 a year because he's a big donor and he owns that. And yeah, he's going because that's where the stupid money is. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying it's stupid money. I mean, stupid is stupid. Stupid is what stupid does, my man Gump said. But another man once said that you're worth whatever somebody's willing to pay you. And down there's more people willing to pay their chosen celebrities. And to them, chosen celebrities are college football players. College football is big at Michigan State, but it's not stupid big. As a graduate of Michigan State University, I'm glad it's not stupid big. Professionally, my business would be a lot stronger if it was stupid big, but I wouldn't be comfortable with that. I mean, it's like, I guess that's just my outlook on things. And when I say I'm a graduate of Michigan State University, I mean the institution, journalism school. I don't mean green and white pom-poms. I mean the university. As a graduate of the university, I'm glad it's not stupid big. I guess for everybody, it's whatever your context is, whatever your frame of reference is. It's like George Carlin used to say, when you're driving, anyone who's driving slower than you is an idiot. Like, get out of the way, idiot. And anyone driving faster than you is a maniac. Get out of the way, idiot. Oh, look out for that maniac. If someone's faster than you, they're a maniac. Slower than you, it's an idiot. Maybe I'm that way about college football. When I go to a place like Ohio State, I got a lot of respect for Ohio State. When I'm down there, it just seems like it's too big. It just seems like college football is just too big there. I've not gone to. I've seen some of the other SEC schools in bowl games, but I've not been to a home game there. But the Rex Grossman thing, I threw up a little bit when I saw that. Threw up a little bit. That's too big, in my opinion. It's because I'm used to Michigan State, probably, right? Michigan State, 75,000 seat stadium, nice little college campus, big campus, park-like atmosphere. To me, George Carlin theory, that's what I've known. That's what I'm comfortable with. That's what college football I'm comfortable with. I'm glad that there's Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Tennessee with the big stadiums. I'm glad there's that level of enormity that's out there. But when I'm at Ohio State, some of those places just seem too big, just too pro. It seemed pro there, right? I've been to other places that seemed smaller. It's cute, whatever, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just used to Michigan State. I like the Michigan State thing that's going on. I know you guys do too. How did I get talking about that? Anyway, the guy asked, with the realignment, do I get the feeling this is the last year of college football as we grew up loving it? Yeah, it's going to be different. When players have made mistakes, one of my common phrases is, hey, he's not a pro. He's here at your school with a free education. We're not going to boo this kid. We're not going to ask him to be expelled when someone makes a mistake. Well, now that they are pros and fans do boo them, can I still say that? I probably will, but not that anyone listens to me anyway, but will that ring differently in the future? I'm not sure. All right. CGM says, did Michigan State ever finally hear on the rescheduling of last year's game against Miami of Florida that was canceled in East Lansing? If we go to Miami this year and do not reschedule a return visit to Spartan Stadium, this is absolutely a poor decision. That's what CGM says. I've not asked Bill Beekman about this. I've talked to him a little bit about that decision, and he said, it's still being ironed out. That was before the Miami game was stayed on the schedule. But this is what I think is the situation. I've not confirmed this, but no, I don't expect that to be rescheduled. So when that contract first was signed, it's a home and home. Miami plays here, Michigan State plays there, consecutive years. Now, I don't know if they waive all payments or if Miami comes here and you pay them and then you go there and they pay you. I'm not really sure. I've not seen the contracts. I suspect it's the latter. The payments do take place. So what happened? Last year there was no game. So Miami didn't come to Michigan State. So Michigan State did not have the home game, did not sell the tickets, did not get all the windfall that comes with a home football game. They also didn't have to pay Miami, whatever it might have been, $1.5 million. And I don't know if it's $1.5 million there and then $1.5 million back and it all ends up being a wash. I don't know if the currency actually changes hands or it's just understood that it's going to be a no payment deal. Now you don't play that game, but it's on the schedule to go to Miami. So Michigan State's going to go down there. So I suspect what's going to happen now is Miami will pay Michigan State. So Michigan State will get $1.5 million or something like that for it, whereas they didn't have to pay Miami. So last year with COVID, a lot of athletic departments lost a lot of money. This is a case where Michigan State doesn't get the home game. They'd rather have the home game this year, I'd imagine, but they get $1.5 million and they don't have to pay Miami. So they come out with a little bit of money there, but probably not a game that Michigan State's going to win this year. So if you wanted to cancel it and cancel that contract, Michigan State might have had to pay to get out of that contract. If you pay to get out of that contract, you can recoup that money by scheduling an extra home game this year. But if you were to schedule a one-and-done home game this year, I don't know who you could get. You're not going to get anyone from a Power 5. You'd probably get an Akron, a MAC team. So would you rather play a MAC team at home and get that money? You don't get the money, CGM. I don't get the money. Michigan State gets the money. Would you rather Michigan State get the money and play a weaker team at home or go down there, try your luck against a tough Miami team, and then Michigan State gets a little bit of money out of that too? Not as much money as they would get out of a home game, but again, it's not like they would schedule somebody of Miami's ilk to take that seat on the schedule. All right. Spartan Green 123 says, last night you mentioned that Horst would be a left tackle and our Curry a right tackle. That's flipped based off of what others think. Any particular reason you think our Curry is better positioned at right tackle and not left tackle? Well, nothing. Just that Horst played left tackle in the scrimmage. And I've asked around a little bit if it's possible our Curry might be a right tackle, and I was led to believe that, yes, that very well could possibly happen. So I'm not necessarily predicting that it'll happen, but I won't be surprised if that's the way it goes. Would not be surprised. Spefton out of East Lansing says, I'm not surprised. He says, I am surprised that we have not gotten involved with more top-notch linebackers. Seems like a position where we need players and more depth. Am I wrong in thinking this? No, I would agree. Michigan State's not really been involved with big-time linebackers, recruiting-wise. They've got some... now, remember, they're only going to be recruiting 2 a year because you're recruiting to a two-man position now. It's no longer a 3-man position. Michigan State used to play 3 linebackers. Now they play 2. So now they're just going to be signing a few more safeties than they used to and not as many linebackers. They had the portal this past year for 3 linebackers. So that's part of it. And I think that's it. Sun King, that's George from Jackson, Michigan, says, Jim, who do you compare Kenneth Walker III to as a running back? How about Harold Joyner? Excited to see these guys. Harold Joyner's tall, and he's athletic. Is he tough enough? Will he lower his shoulder? Is he elusive? As an athlete walking around, he kind of looks like an Eric Dickerson type of guy. I mean, Dickerson's one of the all-time greatest, but that's Harold Joyner. Kind of looks like that tall guy. Not as tall, but specimen. There have been specimens at running back that just haven't had it at running back. We will see if he has it. He's done well in the weight room, as has Kenneth Walker III. Kenneth Walker, he's different now than he was at Wake Forest. At Wake Forest, with their style of play, they were so methodical with the way they did the zone read. They would hold it for 1 or 2 beats longer than most teams, and they pressed the line of scrimmage with such patience and such slowness. He didn't want to play that way anymore. That's one of the reasons he came to Michigan State. So now he's playing with a little more quickness. I don't know. I can't think of anyone that I would compare him to off the top of my head. All right, I think that'll just about do it. Let me go through the comments here, and then we'll wrap it up on a Monday night. Appreciate everybody checking in again. Peyton Fleetmeyer, Gates, yes, sir, he's excited about that. Detroit Spartan says, did Comp's live stream for last night ever end? Has Comp just been rambling sports gold for 24 hours straight? Yes, I have. I've been going 24 hours straight. It is a telethon. Began last night at 9 p.m., and now it's 11 p.m. Eastern time on Monday night. That's 26 hours straight. Let's check the tote board. Tiffany. I was joking. Bad attempted a joke. My bad. I'll stick to sports. Chris Trinum says, after many months away, Mall 286 is back for the Mag Live. Chris Trinum. Good to have him back. Mall 286. Detroit Spartans lukewarm on the response to that. Nick Harrington with that super sticker. Appreciate that. Nick Harrington says, lemon character doing a victory dance with... Oh, okay, that was the emoji he tried to post. Chris Trenham says, Comp, if we go into the season with 18 or 19 commitments, what does your gut tell you on how many kids actually play at Michigan State in 2022? How many kids actually play at Michigan State? Oh, of the 19 commitments, how many actually play? It's usually 2/3, right? Now with the transfer thing, maybe it's 50-50. Good question. Hadn't really thought about that. Detroit Spartan says, what are your thoughts on Michigan and Dante Moore? I think Michigan is falling behind in that one. Big-time quarterback. Chris Trinum says, Comp in Evanston. Got to set up a Mag tailgate. Oh, in Evanston? A Mag tailgate in Evanston for Labor Day weekend? Tailgating in Evanston is always kind of hit and miss, right? There's not a lot of good tailgating spots. Conondike are usually just happy just to find a hotel somewhere around there and find our way to the media parking, which in Evanston is usually a ways away from the stadium, and we're just usually happy to show up on time and bathed and not hungry. So I appreciate your enthusiasm about a tailgate, but that might not be the time or place. But someday, Detroit Spartan says, I think Michigan State's going to be in it until the end for more. I think you're right. Detroit Spartan says, Noah Kim is legit. I think you're right. Peyton Fleetmeyer says, can't believe Warren said they are not looking to expand. Horrible commissioner. I wasn't aware that he said that. Did he say that today? That they're not looking to expand? I'm not big on expansion, but if you're a Big Ten guy, you don't want to see the SEC just, take over the chessboard. Big Ten has always prided themselves on having a TV contract that's as big or bigger than anyone else. With SEC adding Oklahoma and Texas, their TV contract will be bigger than anyone else's, and each member institution out of the 16, their cut of the pie will be bigger than the cut of the pie that the Big Ten schools receive. I think that everybody sees that coming. What can the Big Ten do to counter that if they want each of their schools to have a bigger piece of the pie? I think the only answer would be USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, and expand all the way to the coast, which would just, it would blow up the concept of Big Ten and regional separation, which has been some of the flavor. But that'd be the way to do it, and it doesn't sound like they want to do it. I think USC and UCLA would probably be open to it because their funding is decreasing, and West Coast football is losing traction, and that would be one way to regain some relevancy out there. Detroit Spartan says, I know a lot of maggers like to joke about Kim, but he's for real. No joke. He looked good in that scrimmage, man. Looked pretty solid. Chris Trinum says, I'll be shocked if they don't expand. I would have to agree with that. I think they have to. Unless Warren is just, I don't know. That the way things went last year with some of those decisions about other things. I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but it was some of it was just kind of, I don't know. We'll see. Chris Trinum says, Okerman. Yeah, Ackerman. I think he was the power forward baseball dude. Could be wrong. I have dad brain now. Yeah, it was Ackerman. That was his name, right? Played some baseball. Came in. Hey, big, thick dude at about 6'9", 6'10". Solidly could have been a walk-on help as a big man. Wrote some stories about him. Solid in the scout team. I think he had to sit out. I don't know if he played that year or not, or if he had to sit out. And then right when it was his time to maybe become a factor, he transferred out. And then you have guys like Walleman come in with no fanfare, and those are the guys that end up helping. Or Brian Westrick. And I can't remember who the guy was that was it Shoemaker? Schumann? The guy from Okemos. Shoemaker? No. I don't know. Guard, played against Tennessee, helped him after Lucas went down, and then who was the other guy that got injured? There was another one that was injured in 2010. At Peyton, I wouldn't trust anything the commissioner says publicly moving forward. Fair. Spartan 317 says, "Hello, Jim. I became a Spartan Magger today. I've enjoyed you from a distance for years." Spartan 317, appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Really do. Spartan 317. We got a new Magger, ladies and gentlemen. So let's take it a little easier with the hazing this time. But, hey, it's good to have them aboard. If you've been appreciating the nonsense here on the YouTube and some of the free content we've had, I think that you'll like it. And also the Underground Bunker message board when the season gets rolling, I think you'll enjoy that, the give and take. Michigan State fans among friends. Not everybody gets along, but everybody comes from the same angle on things. And it's a good place. It's a community. It's a web community. And a lot of people share information about travel ideas, financial ideas, a lot of things. It's a great internet community, SpartanMag.com. Spartan317, glad to have you aboard. Thanks for being a subscriber. We hope you like it. Text me or email me anytime and let me know what you're thinking and what we can do better. And we'll keep trying to do better. There's a lot of things that we'd like to do better. We're working at it. Brian Scilacci says, "Whoa, 75%. Comp is conservative. Book it." Detroit Spartan says, "Agreed regarding the Elite 11 comp, completely overhyped." Peyton with the editorial comment. Detroit Spartan says, "But I agree about Hauser. Been watching a lot of film on him. Wish there was more." Good point. Wish there was more because he didn't have any junior film. He didn't have any sophomore film. And then as a junior, split time in a shortened season. But if he didn't get hurt as a junior, if he didn't get hurt as a sophomore, and there was more film on him, does Michigan State get him? Or does the bigger fish get in there? There are bigger fish than Michigan State right now. Maybe Michigan State can get back to the point where they are the biggest fish, but right now it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that, Michigan State's as great as West Virginia. Joke. Noah Sprunger says, "I still think they finished somewhere between 30 and 35 in the recruiting rankings." I would agree with that. And that's, I've always said recruiting rankings, I can't tell the difference between a class that's ranked number 26 and number 44. They look the same. Some teams might service their needs better than others within that scope. Certainly, some teams will evaluate better than others that are in that mix, and some will develop players better than others in that mix. And the programs that are very good at evaluation and very good at player development but have recruiting classes ranked between 26 and 44, that's kind of that D'Antonio area. Bielema area, when Wisconsin was good. You can put together a really good team even if you're recruiting in there, if you're excellent with evaluation and player development. It's easier to do it with top 20 classes. But sometimes you get programs that jump up and have a top, like a number 19 recruiting class. Michigan State's done this. Like, boom, have a great recruiting class, but it ends up being a bunch of prima donnas, and they all fizzle out. Happened in the TJ Duckett class. Not to TJ. He stuck around. But the rest of that class high attrition rate. And, of course, we all remember the Dream Team class. Prima donnas, got in trouble, high attrition rate. That was the highest ranked recruiting class D'Antonio ever had. But I've covered Michigan State a lot, and those years when the recruiting class is like number 55 or so, 50, 60, usually they don't end up getting a lot of return on those. You want to be, if you're not going to have a great class and you don't have a top 25 class, somewhere between 26 and 44 is okay. If you're like 35, 36, you can work with that. A couple of 35s in a row, you can work with that. Now, if you want to play for national championships, you have to have top 10 classes. And for a long time, the thought was, well, that's kind of a chicken, egg, self-fulfilling prophecy, because the recruiting rankings, if you go back 15, 20 years, it was going to be the same teams every year. You know, Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Alabama, USC, whatever. It was the same. And you're like, well, wait a minute, those are the teams that are in the top 10 every year. And then they all have top 10 recruiting classes. So which is it, chicken or the egg? Are you just ranking these guys because Notre Dame signed somebody that automatically a 4.5 star? Yeah, there was some of that. And then Clemson came along about 9, 10 years ago when Dabo Swinney just started going. And to me, this had to resume there. Looked like we went off the air there for a minute, but we're back now. So anyway, I was talking about Clemson. So Clemson all of a sudden had a top 10 class or a couple of top 10 classes before they broke through as a top 10 program. For Clemson, which was not a blue blood, their ascension to become a top 10 program was preceded by being a top 10 recruiting entity. So that kind of legitimized those recruiting rankings to an extent. And nowadays, you'll see the so-called national championship formula. Some people have looked at Alabama, Clemson, some of these teams that have won national championships in recent years, LSU, and they've looked at their roster, and there's like a certain ratio. Like you need to have like at least like 2/3 of your roster needs to be 4 stars or better, something like that. Alabama far and away has the most 4 and 5 stars. But right now, based on what we see, you cannot win a national championship unless like at least half of your roster is 4 stars. I'm not exactly sure what the percentage is, but there's people out there that say this is the number you have to get to. Now, might we see some teams show up and prove that wrong? Maybe in the future. It's not going to happen while Nick Saban is around, because when he has good talent, he gets the best out of that talent, and you're not going to knock him off. Once he's done, you might see some talented teams that might short arm it and get surprised in the 12-team tournament. But as long as there's some Nick Saban disciples out there, we'll see what happens with Kirby Smart. Saban did so much to the SEC. I mean, SEC, before he got in there, was cotton candy football. It wasn't all that physical. There was speed. There was Tennessee. There was Florida. Spurrier. They had some good teams, but they'd get hit in the mouth again by Nebraska. They'd get hit in the mouth by some teams. When Saban went to LSU, he changed it, because all of a sudden physicality came in, and you had to keep up. You had to try to match that physicality if you had any hopes of keeping up. And he changed LSU and left and came back, and he changed Alabama. LSU stayed strong. And now, he's changing Georgia because it's one of his guys at Georgia. Now he's changed A&M because it's one of his guys at A&M. So, and then Urban Meyer came in and did his thing at Florida. But it changed the conference. Saban did. There was always talent down there and tremendous fan bases, of course, but Saban brought physicality and accountability. You could go down there and like when Notre Dame beat Florida in the Sugar Bowl, or Penn State beat Tennessee in the Fiesta Bowl, or wherever that was, or Nebraska put a hole in Florida that one time and put a hole in Tennessee. You could go in there with physicality, and also you could outcoach those teams. You can't outcoach them anymore since Saban went there because of what he did and his offspring and how everything works down there now. He changed it. So when he's gone, how long will it take for maybe SEC teams to could they go cotton candy again? Maybe not. Maybe it's changed forever. I'm not sure. But as long as he's around, he's going to have great talent, and you're not going to outcoach those guys. And that's a tough combination, right? So I don't know how I started talking about that. So I know what I was talking about. I was talking about Clemson and how their recruiting rankings preceded their, becoming a national power. So now A&M is doing that. Now A&M has had like 2 or 3 straight years of top 10 recruiting. Prior to that, they were always like a 25, 24, 28 type of recruiting program. Going to the SEC, they started recruiting better. And now they've had top 10 classes. Now last year they finished number 4 in the country and just barely missed on college football playoff. They're knocking on the door to possibly break through at some point. All right, what else do we have here? We had that internet bump. Oh, internet bump, talking about recruiting, or are you talking about the little problem we had just now? I'll go back over this. Go back over. What happened? I don't even know. Bass guitar, what happened? I lost my place here. All right. Ben Cheese says, what do you think about Mel Tucker saying he wants to win a national title at Michigan State and that this is his dream job at the Big Ten Media Day? Does that mean he is more likely to stay like D'Antonio? I didn't hear him say national championship. Did he say that? I think he believes that and he'd like to do it, but I've not heard him say that out loud. Dream job. He's calling it a dream job now. He didn't say that when he was hired. He may have thought that. I think he's always been an ambitious guy when he left here and then maybe had an eye on it for a while. But I truly believe now that he's been here a while, the more he's been here, the more he likes it. Now, that can always change when the seat gets hot for one reason or another. But I think he truly loves Michigan State's history in many facets. It's history in terms of athletic success. It's history in terms of inclusion and social justices. I think he loves that. I think he would love to bring great things to Michigan State. And if he does, there will be other programs that come after him. But if everything gets treated right, I think that he may be inclined to stay because I think he truly loves it. Chris Trinum says, many schools will ascend by October. A 25-33 finish would be great. I agree with that with the recruiting rankings. Detroit Spartan says, Jason is the man. Great kid. Doors fan 91. Robbie Krieger played guitar. No bass player. Okay, talking about the Doors. Okay, no bass. All right. Gotcha. Adam Ificus says, Doors didn't have a bass player. Thank you. Detroit Spartan says, what to F was that, comp? I don't know what that was. I don't know what you're talking about. Sam Cooper says, who's most likely to start as a true frosh, offense or defense? True freshman. I thought Chuck Brantley, 160 pounds, is that too light at corner? I think Brantley, Gervin's going to be in there. The transfer's going to be in there, but I love Brantley's film, and I think he's impressed some teammates thus far. As far as other freshmen go, let me just do a cheat sheet here and get refreshed on who the freshmen are. Off the top of my head, football recruiting. Let's see. I've been thinking Brantley all along, and that's a position that is open, so that would make sense. Also, it's a long-held axiom by coaches that the further you are away from the football, the better chance you have to start. Cornerbacks and wide receivers furthest away from the ball. Keon Coleman, I'm hearing good things about him. I'm not sure he'll start at wide receiver. In a given game, on a given formation, it's possible, a wide receiver could start. If you want to start a game in a certain formation, he's the guy. He's 6'4", he's athletic. I'm hearing good things about him. He's high maintenance, so got to keep an eye on that whole deal. Nateote, they got chances at linebacker but you're bringing in Crouch out of Tennessee. He's right there. Harvey's right there. Nateote checked in at 240 or so. And looking at his junior film, I wasn't sure about his quickness and his speed. Although he's a 4-star guy and he may have come in expecting to, I'm just not sure he'll be the guy. AJ Kirk, keep an eye on him at safety, right? Angelo Gross is going to be back there. Henderson's going to be back there. And if anything happens, Kirk would have a shot. Cam Allen at tight end was too thin. 6'5", 220. He was 220 in the spring game. Looked like a wide receiver. They need help at tight end, but I'm not sure he can do it. He's gained 20 pounds since then. Not sure that's enough, so I'm not going to say him. Antoine Booth, I don't think he played as a senior. I don't think at DeMatha, I don't think they had a football season at all. So we've not seen him since he was a junior. Ethan Boyd, good offensive lineman, but it's going to take him, he takes offensive lineman a while. So I'm going to say, Keon Coleman, if it's a certain formation, I wouldn't bet my life against that. And I'm going to say Brantley at corner, and I'm going to say A.J. Kirk at safety. In my opinion, might have the best chances. I'm not saying they'll beat out those guys that are there, but if there's injuries and tweaks in here and there, those guys might be second stringers that have a chance to step up. But camp hasn't even started yet. That's just based on some high school film and some opportunities. Good question, though. Detroit Spartan says, I think fans will really like Russo at times, but really dislike him at other times. They'll be hot and cold with him. No middle ground. Comp suspicious. Very. Written all over his face. Good development on Terrell Henry. What is he now? Like 6'1"? Yeah, about 6'1", I'd say. I don't know. Comp suspicious. What was that about? I'm not sure what the reaction you guys are referring to on that. Ironton High School, MSU recruiting linebacker, Trevor Carter. Yeah, thank you. Ironton High School, that's where Trevin Pendleton is the varsity head coach down there. Linebacker Trevor Carter is like a 4-star. Thank you. Thanks, Hayden. Mr. Boneman says, hello all. Been a long time, comp. Good to have Mr. Boneman back. Ty Jordan says, Trent Gillison will have a big year this year at tight end for Michigan State. Write him down. Ty Jordan with a big prediction there. That would help Michigan State a lot if that happens. Byron Scalacci, we're up past his bedtime. Is it 11:30 already? I got to get to bed, too. No, I won't get to bed. I got work to do. I was going to do some work. That article I was going to do about shoot, I was sitting down to do that, and then the Antonio Gates story broke. Chris Trinum says, it's a make-or-break year for Gillison. It either clicks or he won't get PT. A ton of talent, needs to be consistent and block much better. He does need to block better. I agree with that. Spartion 6686 says Chargers signed Matt Seibert last month. I did not know that. I don't get the memos and everything like I should. I wish I'd known that, but I'm not surprised. And if he does well in the NFL, then shame on all the NFL GMs that didn't listen to me last spring. We'll see how he does. Brad Fishenko says Rocket Mortgage and D. Moore come on down to East Lansing. Well, that's true. I mean, if you get, at Rocket Mortgage and Ishbia's company, they'll be donating money, but do they also start answering what's going on with some of those sponsorship deals? Boy, I don't know where it's going. But you're right. I mean, Michigan State has some big time donors, big time business owners, but the numbers of them and to actually get a return on your investment, if you pay somebody to sponsor your whatever it is you do, are you just giving them money, or do you want your business to benefit from it? If you're just giving them money, okay, that's one thing. But will your business benefit? In the state of Michigan, your business, I don't think is going to benefit all that much from having a college football player be a sponsorship. In Mississippi and Alabama and Louisiana, your business can improve from that. I guess it depends on how you handle it and what your strategy is and what your campaign is. But in general, that's the way I see it. I could be wrong. Peyton Fleetmeyer says, yeah, I live in College Station. Football is insane here. The Aggie game days are way more intense than at Michigan State. Alex James says, went to grad school at Florida. The swamp is rocking on a Saturday night. The entire town shuts down for the game. Same at College Station. Alex James says, I'll be at the Miami game September 18th with my sweat towel in hand. I got to get a flight for that. I haven't got my flight yet. Probably a little bit late for that. Oops. Ty Jordan says, better chance to surprise us this year, football or basketball team? Well, if basketball does well, it's never a surprise, is it? So if you're talking about like true surprise, football has more potential there because it'd be a surprise. Basketball won't be a surprise. Keebler, thank you. What was I thinking? Cobbler, shoemaker. That's what I was thinking. Shoemaker. I was thinking cobbler. Keebler, like a Keebler elf, of course, from Okemos. Thank you. I always forget his name. Good, solid defensive player, 6'4", could play defense first. And that's all they needed from him. Defense. Don't blow any leaks on defense. We'll take care of everything on offense. That's what a walk-on. If a walk-on's going to help you, it's usually going to be something like that. Kyle Priestley says, how big of an impact does Antonio Gates Jr. commitment have on future recruiting? Does he attract additional high 3-star and 4-star recruits? Great question, Kyle. He's a popular guy. Everybody in Southeast Michigan in football knows him, and he's got a lot of friends in there. He's going to work on Tayshaun Trent. He's going to work on Will Johnson. He's not going to flip Johnson unless Johnson wants to transfer later or something. But he's you can see some of the reaction from people, recruits. Jonathan Slack had a reaction on Twitter. Dante Moore had a reaction on Twitter. Yeah, when Gates committed to Michigan State, that it was noticed by 22 recruits, 23 recruits, 24 recruits, for sure. Chris Trinum says, headed out. Take care, folks. Can't wait for camp next week. Is it next week, August 4th? Yeah. Ty George says, 2013 team could have won the Natty if it was a 4-team format that they have now, Rose Bowl champs. I don't disagree. And D'Antonio said that back then, that he thought they could have beaten Florida State or Auburn. It was Florida State and Auburn for the national title that year, right? And Stanford had knocked Oregon out of it. And, Auburn basically had the same season Michigan State had. They were both 11-1. Michigan State lost to Notre Dame. I forget who Auburn lost to. But because Auburn was ranked higher at the beginning, they stayed ahead of Michigan State all the way up the rankings. And then when the season ended, Auburn was ahead of them. Auburn got the shot at the national title. I think that's how it worked. It was Auburn, right? Michigan State may very well have been, because there was no great Alabama team that year. Florida State was good. Auburn was good. Michigan State was good. Stanford was good. With the bounces, yeah, Michigan State. Can we even really? D'Antonio said it back then, and I didn't really give it much mind. I didn't quite believe it, but looking back on it, that team, they beat everybody in the Big Ten by at least 10 points, right? Knocked Ohio State out of it, right? If you could beat Ohio State in 2013, you could have beaten Florida State and Auburn. But did Ohio State go and lose to Clemson that year in the Orange Bowl? Was that the first time they lost to Clemson? But, yeah, it would not have taken a miracle. It would not have taken a miracle for Michigan State to beat either of those teams in a national championship setting. So is that possible? Some things have to bounce your way. Part of it is you need one of those years when there's no superpower, which these years it's not very often. Alex James says, slight internet bump, nothing major. More talk about 2013. Ty Jordan, too bad. Yeah, all right. Jameis Winston, Florida State. Alex James says he doesn't think Michigan State beats them. They were a buzzsaw with better athletes, but wish we could have seen it. They did have good athletes. Michigan State had Trey Waynes and Darqueze Dennard at corner. Langford at tailback. Fastest players in the country at those positions. Hard to replicate that, right? Tough defense. Really tough defense. Stop the run. A little soft between the 20s against possession passing to the slot. Made few mistakes. Connor Cook made some mistakes here and there, but his mistakes bounced off people's shoulder pads and fell safely to the ground. He made a few of them. All right. Yeah, Freudian slip. Sorry about that. Mr. Bowman. All right. Hey, we're going to wrap it up. It's been 2.5 hours. It's almost football season. I didn't get to all the questions from the mailbag. I appreciate those people that did post some questions at the mailbag. Got the dream job question. Ceiling. My son Dave says, Jim, what is the ceiling and the floor for this year's basketball team in your opinion? Basketball team? That's my son Dave on beautiful Torch River. I was up at Torch River July 4th, a couple of days. Trying not to get in the way too much up there. The ceiling and the floor for basketball. The floor would be about like this year. The ceiling would be, third place in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is going to be pretty good. I don't want to write off Michigan State's chances because they kind of have a little bit of Gene Katie to them that if you don't think they're good, they could end up being pretty solid. That'll be the last question. These people posted these questions. That's the last question. That was the last question over at the Underground Bunker, so we got through all those. And glad we got through all of these comments. Appreciate everybody coming in. Only had a couple phone calls. Want to go open mic. I thought some people would want to talk a little bit more about the Antonio Gates situation and recruiting. We'll try it again. A lot of you guys call in a lot of times after games. Maybe that's the best time to do it. But once we start seeing football practice, and I think media will be allowed to watch, be able to come back, and Konendijk and I will have VCasts about that. We'll get on the message board, continuing coverage over at SpartanMag.com. I want to welcome the new subscriber that chimed in earlier. And those of you that are watching that are not subscribers, now's a great time. Try it for a month for free, SpartanMag.com. Get ready for fall camp. You're going to love it. Everybody that was here tonight, appreciate all your help and appreciate your watching and staying up this late, almost midnight on the East Coast. And appreciate your questions over at the Underground Bunker message board and here in the chat area. We will see you next time. It won't be tomorrow. Got some baseball practice tomorrow and the next day, and then a tournament this weekend. Then baseball's done. I can tell you now, it was baseball around the clock as a coach since March 22nd, basically. It's been every day. So anyway, almost every day. I had a little time off last week for some vacation stuff. July 4th, took some time off, but it's been good, but it's been tiring. I want to do some more of this. And we'll be back doing some more of this shortly. Probably next Monday. Write that one down. As we get into August camp, we'll get back into the Spartan Mag Live, getting them going. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Been watching Spartan Mag Live. Check us out over at SpartanMag.com. Good night, everybody. See you next time.